The story of Young Thug and YFN Lucci's feud is one of the most complex and tragic rivalries in Atlanta hip-hop. It is a tale that stretches beyond music, rooted in street politics, personal loss, and the justice system. Two rappers from the same city, both rising stars in their own right, became locked in a cycle of tension that will forever shape their careers and personal lives. At the heart of it all is the unsolved murder of Donovan Big Nut Thomas, a figure who played a pivotal role in sparking hostilities that continue to echo years later. Young Thug, born Jeffrey Lamar Williams II in Atlanta 1991, grew up in the city's Jonesboro South Housing Projects. His upbringing was marked by hardship and exposure to the violence of his neighborhood. What separated him from many around him was his ability to channel his energy into music, using his unique voice and flamboyant style as tools to break into the rap world. By 2013, he was gaining traction with mixtapes like 1017 Thug and quickly became one of hip-hop's most innovative figures. His influence on the trap music and fashion trends positioned him as one of Atlanta's most creative experts. YFN Lucci, born Rayshawn Lamar Bennett, also in 1991, grew up in another section of Atlanta. Raised in a working-class home with his brother YFN, unlike Thug's aggressive, experimental sound, Lucci's music leaned heavily on melody, often blending singing and rapping. He discovered his talent as a teenager, encouraged by his older brother, and inspired by Atlanta icons like T.I. and Jeezy. His breakout came with Wish Me Well Too, and the hit single Key to the Streets in 2016. 2 years later, his EP Long Live Nut paid tribute to his close friend and mentor, Big Nut, who had been tragically murdered in 2015. The death of Big Nut is the defining flashpoint in a feud between YFN and YSL. On January 10th, 2015, Nut was gunned down in a drive-by shooting in Atlanta's Castleberry Hill neighborhood. His death shook the city and devastated YFN Lucci, who credited Nut with guiding him through the industry and motivating him to stay focused on music. Almost immediately, whispers spread that Young Thug's YSL crew was somehow involved. Given the rivalry brewing between the two camps at the time, though no concrete evidence linked Young Thug to the crime, the streets speculated. The suspicion has lingered for years. This speculation deepened during the later YSL RICO trial, when prosecutors named Kenneth Lil Woody Copeland, a known affiliate, as a witness. Prosecutors alleged that Woody had provided details about YSL activities and even linked Young Thug to the car used in Big Nut's murder. However, when called to testify, Woody repeatedly contradicted himself, claiming he had been coerced and stated on record that what happened to Nut got nothing to do with YSL. Despite his words, many observers believed the feud between YFN and YSL was tied to the shooting, adding fuel to long-standing rumors. As tensions escalated, both rappers began taking subliminal and sometimes direct shots at each other on social media and in interviews. The animosity was not just between Thug and Lucci, but between their entire circles. Graffiti targeting Nut's memory appeared, and Lucci made no secret of the disdain for Thug. Meanwhile, Thug's execrable image, rising fame, only widened the gap, making their beef of Atlanta's most talked about rivalries. Complicating matters furthering was the role of Rich Homie Quan. Once a close collaborator of Young Thug, reports suggested that Big Nut wanted Quan to distance himself from Cash Money, Birdman's record label, to begin to align with Lucci. This created another fracture as Quan and Thug began drifting apart, with some attributing the split to Nut's influence before his death. Though never proven, the narrative tied yet another Atlanta star to the tangled web of alliances and betrayals in the city's rap scene. The feud reached its legal peak in 2022 when Young Thug was indicted in a sweeping RICO case against YSL. Prosecutors accused him and his associates of operating as a criminal street gang, responsible for multiple crimes in Atlanta, including murder, armed robbery, and drug trafficking. The case dragged on for nearly 3 years, making headlines across the nation. In 2024, Thug accepted a plea deal, resulting in a 40-year sentence, 5 years credited as time served, and 15 years of strict probation, and 20 years hanging over his head if he violates. The conditions of his probation are severe. He cannot associate with any known gang members, cannot use gang-related lyrics, and is barred from living in Atlanta for a decade, except when attending close family, funerals, or weddings. While Thug's future was being decided in court, YFN Lucci was also battling legal troubles. He faced his own RICO case tied to YFN associates, eventually pleading guilty and receiving a 10-year prison sentence, followed by 10 years probation. He served part of his sentence before being released in early 2025. Not long after, he released a song titled January 31st, My Truth, addressing his hardships and experiences behind bars. Both rappers, once rising stars, now find their careers heavily shaped by legal struggles and the reputations of the crews they represent. The tragic murder of Big Nut continues to hang over the story like a shadow. Though no conviction has ever tied his death to YSL or Young Thug, the streets of Atlanta still debate his legacy and the role his murder played in the fueling one of the city's fiercest rap rivalries. For YFN Lucci, Nut's absence has been a motivating force in his music, while for Thug, the case surrounding Nut's murder became one of the most central pillars of the state's case against him. In the end, the feud between Young Thug and YFN Lucci is about much more than two rappers trading insults. It represents the collision of Atlanta's rap industry. With the harsh realities of the streets, it highlights how deeply intertwined music, loyalty, and violence can become, and how personal losses can fuel rivalries. That spill for Beyond the Studio, both artists remain symbols of Atlanta's rap scene, forever connected by tragedy, legal battles, and the haunted memory of a fallen mentor whose death still raises questions years later.